Okay, today's tutorial, display states in SolidWorks. I think it's extremely helpful. I'll show you why, and maybe I'll show you a little bit more than just, we'll see what time allows. Okay, so I built this model of a pole cover. It's going to drop down over some big 54-inch pipe. It has sliding plates. I used a slot mate for my sliding plates. I'm not going to really go over that now, but I could give a complete tutorial on this pole cover. I guess over in one of my display states, it shows you it even skinned out with aluminum. But today we're just talking about display states. I'm really practicing tutorials, and I'm trying to keep it short, succinct, and clear and helpful. But put something in the comments. Let me know you want to see the whole tutorial, and maybe I'll start at scratch. But for today, let's just delete these display states that I made so I can show you how I made them. Now, I don't think you can delete this one because it's just, there has to be at least one display state, and this one happens to be everything that makes up this pole cover. Back to the display state, when you right click, you can drag that up and it helps put these up there where you can see them. Right click the existing display state and add a display state. Now you notice it activated the new one and it grayed out the old one. When a display state is grayed out, that's the only time you can rename it. In other words, I could rename this one all, but I cannot rename the one that's active. Oh, it says I can. I guess I'm a liar. Okay, this one's going to be just the frame. Huh, guess you can. I think you can't delete one that's active. That's what it is. You can delete one that's grayed out, but so if I wanted to delete this one, I would have to activate this one, and then I could right click and delete that one. Does that make sense? Okay, anyhow, going back to the frame, it's kind of a matter of, I like to use tab and just disappear everything that isn't part of my frame because there isn't that much. Sliding plates. Oh, I guess there is quite a bit because there's quite a few bolts, and underneath the bolts are nuts. I did use the hole wizard and the smart fasteners, so if you'd like to see some more on that, put it in the comments. I'll make a tutorial on hole wizard and smart fasteners. So actually, if I want to get rid of all those nuts and bolts, I can go over here, and typically this fly out window is closed. Sometimes you'll even find the feature manager tree looking like that, and you need to pull it out in order to see the little arrow here. See if it's in too far, the arrow just isn't there, but it's there. Fly out window. Now I can just quickly delete nuts and bolts from being visible in this particular display state. Now, I have to remember that I mirrored some of these nuts and bolts when I made this thing. So I'll go down here, and I'm sure there's a way to do it quicker. Maybe I could grab one, hold down shift, and select them all and make them not visible, but whatever, I'm already done. Okay, so there's my display state. Now I like to use a quick little Control-Shift-Q, rebuild, and then Shift-C, Shift-C, folds up my feature manager tree over here, makes it, easier to see everything. You'll see me do that a lot. I'll try to mention it when I do it. So now I have a display state of all and a display state of just the frame. Now, instead of making a copy of the frame display state and putting the sliding plates back in and all the nuts and bolts, I'll just activate the display state called all, right click and add a display state, and it copied the display state I started with. In other words, if I had the frame display state and I right clicked and said add a display state, it would add one that's set up just like the one that I had when I right clicked and said add a display state. So rather than add back the sliding plates, I will just tab away I tabbed away the frame, Control Z, tab away the aluminum skin, and I'm left with a display state of the frame and the sliding plates and the nuts and bolts. I could right click, rename this and call it frame, sliding plates, and maybe hardware. Call it what you want or rename it until you're happy with it. Now this display state I'll go ahead and delete. Copy of the frame display state. So basically I have the three display states that I wanted. Just the frame and the sliding plates, and everything. So hit a save. Go ahead and make a drawing from the assembly. I like to use the one that I made. It's nothing fancy, but it's 11 by 17. Drop in a front view, side view, other side, top, and isometric. Now, the reason I got that isometric to move away from the line it's locked to is I held down Control, and when you're holding Control, you can then fly this ISO anywhere you want. I'm just going to put it over there and stop by hitting Escape. Stop while I'm ahead. Hit Escape. Come on now. I guess it wants me to drop one more. Okay. Wouldn't you know it, while I'm giving a tutorial, no big deal. Select that, delete, say yes or enter, select that. Now I'll leave that one, select that one, delete, hit enter, which is yes. Now what's all this blue stuff? Well, that's if you have your sketches visible and etc. Hopefully you know what that means. Already this tutorial is going longer than I wanted it to. But the thing I wanted to show you now was, of course, I could get rid of the stop signal that's popped up by either going up here and hitting this, rebuild, or it tells me to do Control B, but I like to do a full rebuild, Control Shift Q. And now I can select any view and say, I'd like this to be just the frame. And I'd like this one to be just the frame. I'd like this one to be just the frame, and I'd like this one to be just the frame. I'd like this one to be the frame and the sliding plates. So there's where the different display states come in handy. All right, I'm going to call it quits before this gets too boring for anyone watching. Go back to my drawing, or my model, I should say. I'm going to try to use the correct terminology. I'm pretty good at SolidWorks, but I'm more of a user than a teacher. So bear with me. Um, and yeah, I have a copy so that I don't really ruin my real work. So here we are back in the model where we have the 3 display states. And of course, I could add more if I wanted to. For instance, I could make sure I'm on the display state called all, right click and add a display state. And this one down here would have everything included, all. I think that's pretty crucial, critical, handy when you're copying display states to know that if you have one selected, right click and add a display state, it'll just copy the attributes of the one you started with. All right, well, I'll see you on another tutorial. Thanks. Thanks for putting up with me.